Well, welcome everyone. I just want to say thank you for joining us tonight for our Mid-Atlantic CCL Learning Series. We host these events as an opportunity to learn more about outside organizations or topics of interest. And tonight we're being joined and we're partnering with our friends from Neighborhood Sun. We're being joined by Bonnie Greer. Just want to go over a quick few housekeeping things before I turn things over to Bonnie. We are recording tonight's session, so if you have some friends or families that weren't able to make it tonight and you want to share with them, that will be made available for people. I just want to also say we encourage everyone to stay muted if possible. This, when not speaking, this will help us avoid interruptions. So everyone, please just remember to hit the mute button when you can. And last thing I just want to say is there will be a lot of time for Q&A, and we're going to encourage everyone to use the raise hand feature for that. If you're not familiar with the raise hand feature, it's at the bottom of your Zoom screen. There should be something called reactions. If you click on that, it'll look something like this, where you'll pop up on the top of the screen, and we're just going to use that to keep things organized as possible. And if people have trouble with that, let us know. You can still add questions and stuff in the chat. We're just going to be a way to try to organize ourselves a little bit. With that, I just wanted to turn things over to Bonnie. Please, everyone, give a warm welcome to Bonnie, and the floor is yours.
Hello. Okay, I'm going to share my screen, all participants. It's easier earlier. Well, there we go. Okay. Can everybody see this?
You look good.
Perfect. All right. So just out of curiosity, since we are going to be going over so many different states today, I know we chatted, you were saying beforehand that if everyone has their state that they're coming from, looks like we have a New Jersey, Maryland, in the group chat or by your name. Just out of curiosity, it just kind of helps me know also what to focus on a little bit in the presentation. But while we're starting, my name is Bonnie. I am from Seattle, Washington, born and raised. So I moved here about a year ago, and it was for this position, and I've been loving it. And so before I moved here and started my career here in DC, which is where I live, I was working I did my AmeriCorps Vista with the Spokane Tribe. I was in the planning and economic development team there. And then I was also doing policy recommendations for Arctic sea ice for Inuit rights. And so I definitely I like to always start with that too, is because I really came into community solar because of the equity aspect of it. And because it challenges a lot of like inclusive topics, which is one of the things we're going to be talking about today. Just a quick overview. So presentation agenda. So we're going to talk about how community solar is vital to equitable energy transition, overview of community solar across many different states, what the IRA means for the solar industry, how does community solar work, how we're creating interconnected communities, and what we do at Neighborhood Sun. So there's going to be some chances for questions at the end, or if it's like you really want to ask it, then go ahead and you can interrupt me, but we might keep that to like a minimum of like one per area. So one of the things that I really enjoy, and part of the reason that I transitioned into this career with Neighborhood Sun, is because I really do love the idea that with community solar, we're working to remove barriers for the renewable energy transition. As we know, this country has an energy crisis, and then we also have a poverty crisis. And so some of these statistics here talking about how 37 million American homes suffer from energy poverty, that's a wild amount. And the fact of the matter too with that is that low-income households spend 3 times as much on their income on energy than non-low income. So as we go through, we'll be talking a little bit about more community solar, but I just wanted to start with that, that we really do need to be building programs that uplift low and moderate income households while we're also developing renewable energies. Okay. Okay, so a few things about DC, and you can see it is DC since there's one of the little fancy old buildings here next to some solar panels. So do we have anyone tuning in from DC tonight? Okay, I'm the only one. I'll represent the team there on that. So for DC, a lot of the community solar projects are definitely going to be on a smaller scale. They're mainly going to be rooftop, as you can imagine. The district doesn't have a ton of open land, just given that it's a small area, and it's definitely, it's very dense. And I will say that there is definitely a highlight in DC to really be working on those like low and moderate income programs. One of the great ones is Groundswell. I'm not sure if anyone's ever heard of them, but they do a lot of great work for low and moderate income households in DC and beyond, in other states as well, but they have some great work in DC. All right, so New York, and if Kara's on, I know she's like the New York queen, which is my boss. She has helped me a lot with like learning about what we're doing in New York as well. But so New York is a really special state. It has it's very developed in its community solar programs, and that is partly because they have a program called NYSERDA, which oversees all renewable energy grants and programs, which is quite old. I believe it's like 20, 30 years old. And so community solar has been like well built out. One of those things that is amazing is consolidated billing, which if you've never heard of community solar, you're going to probably be like, what is that? And we'll get into it later. But consolidated billing is truly a game changer for the community solar movement and for policy. So for Delaware, which, you know, again, being a West Coaster, I did not realize how small of a state Delaware is until I was there a couple of months ago. But it is beautiful. And so some of the things for Delaware is, if you take a look here, community solar is obviously really pretty new, since most all solar in the last, 2-3 years has been pretty much residential and commercial. So for Delaware, it's a new program extension. It just got voted on. Senator Hansen for the state brought so many groups together that it was actually a well-backed bipartisan movement towards community solar, which is really great to hear. And so for Neighborhood Sun, we do have we have a few projects starting in 2024 there, which is really exciting because it is a new state. Along with many other states, not just in the Mid-Atlantic area, we're expanding to quite a few, New Mexico being one of them, and Virginia, which we'll hear about in just a little bit. So for New Jersey, and again, if anyone has any questions, feel free to butt in and ask them about these states and stuff like that, especially if it's your state. So for New Jersey is a pretty unique one, but not necessarily in the best ways, I guess you could say, for community solar. This has been a very difficult state, I know, for us, and then also for other community solar for community solar like programs. And the reason being is because the policy just doesn't really match reality in a lot of ways. So we have currently one project in New Jersey, which is very low for us as far as like comparative to like Maryland. And currently for all projects, 51% has to be dedicated to low and moderate income households. That is an issue mainly because the policy then that constrains that, one of them being that it's dual billing. So like we were talking about consolidated billing and dual billing. Dual billing, we'll get into it later, but it definitely is a big barrier for low and moderate income households for a range of reasons. They make the applications very hard in New Jersey for low and moderate income households. So you can imagine if we have to fill 51% of this solar farm that has to have hundreds and hundreds of subscribers, if you make the application really hard, before it was that you would have to submit 3 years of your taxes in order to receive, oh, do we have a raised hand? Nope. It's hard for me to see. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can finish what you were saying, but I live in New Jersey, and
Oh, great.
what makes it is strange to me because it sounds like the intent was positive to make sure that so much of this community solar go to low and middle income people, right? That was I'm guessing that was the intent of the legislation. But what I'm hearing that is in practice, it's not working out easily for that population. And so one of the questions I have is, you're talking about how the application process is arduous. Is that by state legislation? Like, is they're mandating things that are difficult for people to do? And how could we address that?
Right. No, that's a great question. And I think actually that's maybe something I should have probably outlined beforehand too. The reason that I'm breaking it down by state is that each of these things are state specific. So because community solar is, by law of each state, has to be passed, there's going to be different laws and different regulations per state. So yeah, 51% for low and moderate income households would be incredible if it was actually accessible and there wasn't additional barriers for people to enter. So great, like you said, in intentions, probably in practice, not the best. So I think they're trying to tweak it and rework it and things like that. But as of now, it's definitely one of the more difficult states that we currently function in.
So you may not have the answer to this, but we as concerned citizens, if at some point, either now or later in the program or afterwards, you can tell us what we could do as concerned citizens to have our voice heard, to what changes we could suggest be made, who we might write to about that, if it's something that we would want to see made, easier for folks.
Yeah, I think that's a great question.
All travelers, if any unknown person attempts to give you.
I think that's a great question. I think if you would like, you can always send me an email, which my email will be at the end. And I would love to send you some resources that maybe might outline what specifically you can do in New Jersey.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, I think the goal in New Jersey, though, is definitely to be tweaking things so that we can ensure that those barriers don't exist for low and moderate income households anymore.
So Bonnie, I don't know if you want to take a raised hand from an iPhone. And there's an
that's me, Bonnie.
Yeah.
Sorry, I haven't been able to rename myself. Hi, I'm Cara. I work with Bonnie, and I just wanted to add in, to Bonnie's point about policy that is sometimes not realistic. Depending on where legislators are getting their information, they craft policy. And in the case of New Jersey, one of the real big challenges is that, first of all, the the entity that oversees community solar in New Jersey is called the Board of Utilities. So in just the organization that's overseeing it, it's not like a separate renewable energy agency, it's the Board of Utilities. And so there's been an awful lot of pushback with regard to community solar, but additionally, the big challenge is verifying income. So it's not so much the enrollment process to sign up for community solar, but qualifying folks for those low to moderate income carve outs where they're getting additional savings. So it could be worth it, but it's just, when you ask somebody to turn over 3 years of tax returns or what have you, in order to prove their qualification for a program, you're not making it easy. And so organizations in New Jersey like Vote Solar are great ones. They're trying to advance community solar in New Jersey and simply just make it easier. Thanks, Bonnie.
Yeah. And then here's Marilyn. So Marilyn, this picture too, just makes me happy because it's two of my coworkers that I really enjoy working with. And they're at one of our solar farms while it is being built. Looks like they're having a grand old time. So for Maryland, there's a lot going on right now. So the League of Conservation Voters and Solar United Neighbors, which I do plan on sending an email after this, just like kind of giving you all some resources. Those are definitely going to be two organizations I'm going to highlight just because they do so much work in different states, specifically Solar United Neighbors. So they are working together to really push some bills forward. I am on the working group currently for community solar, like bills going through in Maryland. And one of the things that we're kind of really working towards is obviously permanent program for Maryland. Like I said, each state is going to have different legislation for community solar projects. And we are currently in a pilot program situation for Maryland. And that's really, it makes sense. A lot of community solar programs do start as a pilot program, and that's because they're just testing the waters to make sure things are going to be running well. And so now we are ready in the state of Maryland to push it into a permanent program. What that means is going to be consolidated billing, as well as amongst a lot of other things, but that's the biggest one that we're really pushing for because it's going to open a lot of access for low and moderate income households. Okay, and then Virginia is a very new incoming. Do we have anyone from Virginia? Okay, that's okay. It's a very new industry for Virginia as well. We are running into some roadblocks as far as utilities have quite a bit of power. It sounds like it's going to be in Virginia, which means that there's going to be a $55 minimum for all bills for community solar, which is the highest in the entire country. It was just approved. So I'm sure we will be seeing some bills that are going to try and combat that, because that is clearly, that's for low and moderate income households. So it's just, but still, we want to make it easy for people to participate in community solar. The goal is to remove those barriers. It's not to build them up. It's not to make it harder or more expensive to participate in renewables. So I'm sure Virginia is going to be receiving quite a bit of pushback as they develop their community solar program there. So for these goals with the IRA, just a quick overview, this is essentially a little graph of like what we're going to be expecting to produce, for renewables. And the IRA really opened up a lot of doors for solar. which we're obviously very excited about as a community solar company. But the IRA also opened up quite a bit of things. One of them that I was seeing that I thought was really interesting is there will be $3 billion for environmental and climate justice block grants, 11 billion for clean energy in rural communities, and 27 billion to establish the National Green Bank to benefit low-income housing. But another thing that I really want to highlight on this graph, as we were looking at, like, if 80% of households can't get solar on their home roof, how are we going to get these goals if not everyone's able to access community solar? So community solar is really going to be one of the ways that we're going to drive solar to these levels that it's asking for currently with the IRA and what our goals are going to be. Okay, I'm going to move to the other slide. So I understand the writing on this is probably really small, and I'm sorry about that. It just was a graph that I thought was really interesting, mainly just being the colors and the percentages over here. So for the IRA for community solar, it's going to be definitely a game changer, especially because you know, if you are going to be building in certain areas, if you're going to be building for low and moderate income and trying to serve these communities, there is what's it called? I'm blanking, but there's incentives. That's what I'm to start.
Incentives, yeah.
Yeah, you got me. It's been a long day, so but so there's going to be incentives to really try and reach out to low and moderate income housing, also to brownfields, building on brownfields. Another one that I found really interesting is there's going to be tax benefits to build renewable energy, like community solar and solar in communities that are mainly based in like coal or non-renewables. So really trying to get creative with how we're going to make renewable energy the next wave in the US, and then financially, you know, incentivizing people for that is really interesting. I will say, just because of my background and the research that I was doing for this, the IRA does some really awesome things and really opens some doors for a lot of industries. But if you haven't also researched the ways that the IRA has really affected Indigenous communities, I think that that's something that I always just encourage people to also educate themselves on as well. Because there are some sacrifice zones that exist because of the IRA bill and things like that. So just some things to look into. On next. So, like I said, we have about 80% of the population that can't install solar panels on their home for a variety of reasons. One of them is going to be because they rent, can't afford it. And that is our bread and butter. But also we do serve people that have solar panels on their home too, that just either don't like produce all of their energy usage. And so that is an option. If people have solar panels on their home, you can still participate in community solar. But this is an option for everyone then, which is very exciting. So just from, you know, out of curiosity, is there, do most people here, have you heard of community solar or not? Can I get like a thumbs up if you've heard of community solar, thumbs down? If not, okay, we've got a lot of thumbs up, and then we've got a kind of, okay, cool. Well, then I won't spend too much time on the essentially this part, but when you sign up for community solar, what we do is we take a look at your historical usage, and we assign you a piece of the pie, just like a community garden. If you have a really big home and use a lot of energy, you're going to be using a larger section. You know, you're a big family, you're going to be using a larger section of the garden. So we allocate you based off that. And then that energy then goes into the BGE grid. I guess it says BGE. I work mainly in Maryland, so I should have edited that, but into your grid. And then you essentially get credits on your bill because of that. So I'm going to have some sample bills, obviously, because we're covering so many different states. I don't have one for every single state or utility, but it's just a general idea, kind of overview of what those kinds of things look like. So say you are a BGE customer, or really, you know, again, you are just participating in community solar. You receive a bill from your utility. This is what it's going to look like. Right here is another additional circle, and that's what's taken off your bill. So that is where what you're not paying now because you participated in a local solar farm. Any questions? I have more. I just, you know, trying to take it if anyone's confused.
Oh, Ed has his hand raised, but not the raise hand feature.
Oh, did someone have their hand raised, you said? Oh, hi.
Can I speak?
Yeah.
Okay. Listen, this is a little bit off the track, but I signed up for community solar over a year ago with Arcadia. And that, you know, it seems they can't seem to find land for the farm and set one up. And so, you know, I don't know what's going on with them. When I try and call them, it's very hard to get through. Maybe, you know, maybe everybody's facing the same problems. And I have some ideas for that as a conservation land acquire in my work. But is that a problem? You know, I appreciate, you know, the different things that we're trying to do, but when my personal experience has been they can't get off the ground.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's, you know, a fair situation. I can speak for us in that we have almost, are you in the Maryland area then?
No, New Jersey.
New Jersey, okay. Yeah. I can't really speak to New Jersey too much. I'm a partner manager in Maryland, so that's kind of my where my specialty is within our capacity. So maybe Cara can tap in, but for us right now, there's definitely been some difficulties in certain areas. I think that the IRA is really going to be changing that as far as like what we're going to be able to get off the ground and funding and various things like that. But I mean, community solar projects are popping up everywhere. Right now, we have so much capacity in BGE and Potomac Edison. And we have some new things coming up in Pepco. So
Not accepted, and notify your line personnel.
Yeah, Bonnie, I was just going to add that, you know, in New Jersey, because there's just some issues with, you know, the permitting process. And this is actually kind of endemic across the US. The utilities are not always eager participants in the community solar programs, and we often see, like with Virginia and Dominion pushing back, it's not unusual for the utilities. But then there's also land management issues in municipalities. When they don't know what to do, they don't do anything, just like a lot of us. When we don't know who to trust, we don't do anything. And so, you know, municipalities may, if there's an awful lot of development, solar development going in in their region, they might pass a moratorium on solar development until they kind of have time to assess the situation. So we see these issues crop up all over the place, but it's unfortunate when the company that is kind of managing your subscription, if you have difficulty reaching them, because one of the things that we find, and it's not unusual in New York to wait for 9 months to a year before you can start seeing your credits, and it's just because there's more demand for community solar than there is supply. So we have a queue system in New York where we sign people up and they have to wait a very a long time before they start seeing the savings. And communication is key. It's one thing that we really strive to excel at, is at least letting people know we haven't forgotten about them. So, you can, I think with Arcadia, if you haven't started receiving your credits yet, there's other developers. And if you stick your email in the chat, we can certainly direct you if we can't help you, to other companies that may be able to.
Perfect. Okay. So yes, talking about the bill still though, just so that we can kind of, maybe for some people that is just new to community solar, wrap their heads around that. So this is kind of what it's going to look like. Again, that negative amount on your utility bill. So we were talking about earlier how there's some states that have consolidated billing, and then you have some states that have dual billing. Maryland currently is someone that you get a separate invoice. New York, it's all on one, which is obviously very convenient. But so it's on two currently, but why that is currently is because we want to make sure that you get that savings. So once it is a permanent program in the state of Maryland, is when the policy is going to be written, where utility companies do need to cooperate with us and ensure that you get those savings and those credits all on one bill. So it's just that the policy really just needs to catch up with what the demand is. So yes, if you, like I always give the example, if your utility bill is $110, we'll say $100 is taken off by credits. Then that means that you're going to receive an invoice for $100 worth of credits, but you only pay us $90. So that's how we ensure that people are saving money. That is higher for low and moderate income households, which is what I was kind of talking about earlier, is talking about equity, talking about making sure that we're not overcharging low and moderate income households over energy. So making sure that savings goes back into those communities is a very important part of our program, and I believe is something that we will continue to put at the center and build out. So yeah, this is where we would like the extra 25% here, where there's extra savings even. So just kind of talking about in Maryland, again, I'm using it as an example, but this can really be, I'm sure it's not too different based off of different states. So if $122 a month for electricity is the average household, with community solar with a 10% discount, they will save $3,365 in 20 years. So I know it's 20 years, but still the fact that you're saving that much money over that extended amount of period of time. And then more importantly, that you are contributing to a lower carbon footprint for yourself and your household, and really just trying to support renewable energy initiatives. Really, it's a really awesome way. I'm seeing some questions I think I might have missed in the chat. I'm sorry if I didn't see those, but I can maybe answer those at the end since we are getting close to there. I made sure to have plenty of time for questions at the end. So one of the biggest things too, again, I am a partner manager, so just, in the state of Maryland and then also beyond, since we do have projects in so many different states, I'm a big believer that the way that we're going to combat climate change and really, encourage climate justice is creating on an international scale, interdependent communities where we're really working together with one another to just bring out each other's strengths and, just being able to provide that lifting aspect. So these are just some of the partners that we work with. This is for the Mid-Atlantic, for obviously the Citizens Climate Lobby, but we work with CCAN, we work with Solar United Neighbors, Annapolis Green, Interfaith Power and Light. These are most, besides Blue Water Baltimore and a few others, these are partners that I work directly with, and it's been lovely to learn from them, to use, a lot of my research that I kind of did today was from Solar United Neighbors. They have lovely resources on their websites, just to explain and, make community solar a digestible topic. And not to mention, they're also doing a lot of wonderful work in policy as well. So for Neighborhood Sun, again, what we're trying to do is make sure that community solar, you're keeping your clean energy local and providing that platform. Neighborhood Sun is a startup. We're a grassroots company based in Maryland on the East Coast. And, we do a lot of work just to ensure that we continue to stay connected with our community, and just kind of trying to meet people where they're at, just because that's where we came from. And that's how we started, with a team of two. And well, technically one, but the two was when they really were a powerhouse. And now we have grown. But we definitely are still, a small company and just really trying to grow and uplift. We are a B Corporation, which we actually have the highest score of any solar company in the country. We take a lot of pride in B Corp classification. And if you don't know about B Corporation, I would definitely suggest looking it up. It is really interesting to see all of these great companies who are really putting in the work to provide for communities and also for the environment. So just talking about how much we've reduced as far as CO2 being burned, because as some of you may know, a lot of the ways that energy is brought to your homes, unless you're currently participating in some kind of community solar or renewable energy, a lot of it does come from coal or non-renewables. So that's why we try and compare it in that way, is just because it is a realistic comparison for sure. So one of the things that, one of the first things that I hear with community solar is it's too good to be true. No, I'm not going to do that. And, I guess I just made this the other day because I was like, man, the things that I wish people understood about community solar. And one of them is that most people are already paying taxes on this, since it is a state program. So if you're already paying taxes on this and contributing to, the legislation that protects a lot of their subscribers, why would you not also then be saving the money that the program provides, since it is for everyone in the state? Biggest one here for sure is that we are not a third-party supplier. And just a quick little thing about the difference is that third-party suppliers, as you probably heard of, like Clean Choice, or a few others, is they essentially offer you a chance. Sometimes the credits that they're receiving, or like the energy that they're offsetting, sometimes isn't always local. Often it's just credits from different states. And not to mention, more importantly, they are able to change the rate that they charge you. It's not necessarily regulated. Their contracts can be very confusing. So we have a lot of people that call us after kind of being like, oh my gosh, my rates were low for 6 months or a year, but they went up. And so that's the reason why a lot of people don't trust us or like community solar companies, because of these situations like third parties. We are not a third party. We're state regulated, which means that you are protected by legislation with us, and then also community solar across the country. So that is one of the really great things about community solar, is that there's not going to be that awkward, or you're not necessarily as vulnerable maybe as some unregulated markets. So, and then state regulated, rates protected by policy, just talked about that. There is an agreement that we have. And I think that that's something that first people are like, whoa, things that I wish that they understood. The nice thing about our agreements is that you can cancel whenever you want. And there's not going to be any charges with that. We're not here, again, we're a B Corp. We're just honestly a bunch of like locals in Maryland that just want to help people get renewable energy. We're definitely not here to just lock you into contracts for something that you don't want. And then another thing is that it's free to sign up. I think a lot of people assume that there's going to be like hidden charges for this. There's not. It's really, again, it's free to sign up. It's free to cancel. If you just don't like it, or, if you move or anything like that, you can cancel. I think it's a program that I really wish everybody knew about. One, because if it's not in your state, then you can start talking to your legislators about making it become a thing. But two, also, if this is even a resource for you at all, I think it's just really great to just have this as an opportunity for people to sign up. So this is now question time. Looks like we have about 17 minutes, but this is also a QR code. If you want to scan it and fill out the info, it's just, the first page is just like your contact info. You'll be dealing with me, that's it. So that's the nice thing, is I'm here to support you, and we can chat one-on-one a little bit more if you'd like about if this is a good fit for you. I'm not here to pressure you into things or anything like that. I guess the biggest thing for me is I just want to make sure that people are educated on what their resources are. But yeah, so I will also be sending out, CCL will be sending out an email after this, and I'll make sure to include a link if you want to schedule just a quick meeting with me, even if it's for 15 minutes. I can help walk you through the specifics to your situation, or if you're interested. So hopefully that wasn't info overload or anything like that. I'm going to stop sharing my screen too. Has everyone scanned it that wants to scan it?
And with your permission, can we send out the slides as well? Just so they can.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so if anyone misses this and wants to scan it, we'll be sending out the recording as well as the slides. For
Okay.
people.
Okay, well, I'm going to stop sharing. I'll take a look at the chat since there is some questions too.
Yeah,
I
just
will be, oh, sorry, what was that?
I was going to say, just as a reminder, if people have questions, just to use the raise hand feature so we can make sure to see you clearly and get them answered.
So for New Jersey, I think I already addressed that I would love to send out some things. Oh, I totally forgot, Erica also. So I just thought I'd bring on someone too that is currently a subscriber for community solar, maybe talk a little bit about their personal experience. Just so that you can see a real live human being that is part of it.
Yeah, I'm happy to speak. Hi, everyone. If you don't know me already, I'm Erica Ballarud. I live in Tacoma Park, Maryland. I live in a 1-bedroom condo. So I do not have a whole lot of agency about generating my own renewable energy. You haven't met my condo board. We are not getting solar panels anytime soon. We're surrounded by trees anyway. But I was grateful to learn about the opportunity that Neighborhood Sun provided, because climate action is very important to me. And I did want to be able to send a market signal, however small, because I do have a pretty small monthly bill, that I want clean, renewable energy and more of it on the grid. So while I'm not seeing huge savings every month, I see a small one, but for me, it's almost more important to know that I'm helping incentivize more clean and green energy in the Maryland and regional grid. I also really like that the particular project that I'm subscribed to, which is known as Panorama, is a solar project built on a former landfill. So it's a good reuse of land that was disrespected in the past, but is now being used for good. So I think that pretty much sums up the fact that, you know, since 2018, when I signed up, it's been a good, seamless experience for me. And I'm grateful, Bonnie, for taking time in the evening for you coming on here and sharing with us what you know.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a pleasure. And I've learned a lot from just, you know, consolidating this information into some slides. So, yeah, is there anyone that has any questions? I see that some of them have definitely been answered in the chat already. I see a lot about New Jersey, I believe. And if you have any specifics for like your household, I definitely suggest that you know, set something up with me one-on-one. But if you think it applies to other people, then yes. Oh, do I see one for Ren? Hi.
Yeah, I have a question. First I'll say I've been a member of Neighborhood Sun for several years now, and we've had a really great experience too. One thing I just want to applaud is that once our solar farm was operational, there was like an open house event where we could come and visit the solar panels, and that was so meaningful. We brought my kids, and they ran around the solar panels, and just like it was like such a tangible way to like connect with like, yes, we're actually doing this. This is meaningful. So I want to applaud you for that, because that was really great. You kind of touched on this a little bit, but I was just wondering if you had some comments on like when I've tried to like sing the praises or like tell friends, like, you know, this is something you could do. It's like, you don't have to put any money down, and they're like, they literally don't believe me. And I was just wondering if there's like some like non-partisan source that you would recommend to show it's like, no, this is like an approved thing. Because in my neighborhood in Maryland, we get a lot of this like door knockers that are like trying to, I don't even know what they're selling, but it's like questionable things that about your energy bill. And like, I get like the neighborhood alerts, like they're out again today, don't sign anything. So like, how do I differentiate that like from what I'm trying to share with people to like what you're doing? Like if you have any like, you know, nonpartisan sources that you might recommend would be helpful.
Right. I think for me, because that's definitely been something I run into regularly. And I think the biggest thing that I really try and like grill down is that this is a state program. And just because it sounds too good to be true, maybe just means that policy is catching up with, you know, what we need to do as a whole for climate change and climate justice. So, yeah, I definitely just hone in that it is a state program that is available to them. And there is, where are you? Which state?
I'm in Maryland in the Baltimore area.
Okay, cool. So for Maryland too, there is an entire page online. If you want to email me, I can connect you to it as well, which is just like outlining, again, that's going to be bipartisan. That's just going to be like what it is. This is the program. And if people kind of need that like tangible, where it doesn't feel like it's marketing, where it doesn't feel like all these other things, then that might be helpful. But as far as like if with referral programs and things like that, we do run quite a bit of referral programs, because word of mouth is the strongest way of getting that information out for sure. Again, because just the automatic thing is like, this is way too good to be true. So I can send you details on that too. Perfect. Okay, I see one here. Is there some sort of label or verification that true community solar companies are authorized to display by the state so consumers know that a given company is legit? You know, I'm not sure if I really know the answer to this question, but I will say that if you go online, and look and start just researching a specific company, it's going to be very clear very quickly, usually on if they are community solar or not. But I'm going to write that down because I think that that's something that I want, one, to research and find out. And two, I think it's a great idea. And I think if it doesn't exist, we should make it happen. Oh, we got a hand raise.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So I had a question. So you guys had mentioned that if you guys weren't able to connect people with something, you could connect others in the industry. Do you
Mhm.
find that there's a pretty friendly business that you guys work together to kind of make sure people get their needs met? I'm just kind of curious about the industry itself.
You know, I think that that's definitely a really great question. I think that there are certain developers that we work really closely with because at the end of the day, if we don't have a capacity and we want people to be signed up for community solar, we all have the same goals, and it's really just to reduce people's carbon footprints. So I think overall it is a pretty big, you know, helping others type of industry. I think with some of the bigger ones, I know Arcadia is a really big one, along with a few others that I'm blanking on their names. We don't work as closely with them just because we are kind of more of a grassroots type company, where some companies like Arcadia are some pretty big players in the community solar field. So it's just a little bit different. Okay, well, here, I'm gonna throw in the chat really quick. Just a link for people to schedule a meeting with me if they are interested. Just to make it easier, it's my whole schedule, so you can see how busy I am or not. Okay, so this is just a link for you. Again, you can ask me about signing up. You can ask me about specific policy. You can ask me about how you can get involved, whatever it is. I'm just here to help, here to inform, and here to teach. So I hope this was beneficial. I hope that this information kind of helps you digest what community solar is as a whole. Yeah, but it was great. Oh, we have a question.
Yeah. Do you want to go first, Nadine?
Sure, I'll go first. So I asked this question in the chat and your colleague answered it, but I think it's important for folks to hear because I'm still a little confused. We were trying to get a community, called renewable energy aggregation in our area. And there are a number of companies in New Jersey that are doing that, where like you basically have to opt out. Like they take the whole community buys into this renewable energy program. And if you don't want to participate, you have to opt out. So they're increasing the amount of renewable energy and saving the community money. It's one of those things where it just sounds too good to be true. And your colleague said that that is a form of community solar, even though in those situations, the amount of renewable energy doesn't have to be 100%. It could be 10% above what your utility would do, or 25% above what your utility would do, or something like that. So I'm still a little confused about how that constitutes community solar, because it's not advertised as community solar.
I actually don't know the answer to that question. I think Cara would have been more of the expert on that. She currently just hopped on a plane, so
Oh, okay.
she is not available. But if you do send me an email, I can connect you with that information, because I think that is really helpful, and I'm also curious as well.
So I think the takeaway from us, just seeing the people on this call, that there are a lot of people in our state that are interested in learning more about community solar, what's happening here, how we could be advocates for better, easier, more accessible community solar. So I think Callie, our state coordinator, is here, and maybe we can take that back for, as a talking item for an upcoming state group leaders meeting or something. Thank you.
And my question was just going to be, should people mention that they're from CCL when they're talking to you and signing up for community solar? Is there any benefits to that?
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for saying that. So for CCL, if through the link, which is at the QR code, again, it's going to be sent out, share it with your friends if you'd like. And essentially what it is when you sign up through us, that link specifically will then trigger in our system. If you fully sign up, that's $100 donation to CCE. I believe, right? It's CCE. And so that $100 donation, we do that again, just to ensure that we're giving back to our communities, and just build on what you are all doing, which is really amazing. I was part of a CCL chapter when I was in Seattle. So, and I've also learned a little bit from Erica from some meetings that we've had. So I really appreciate all the work that you do. So, but yes, feel free to send that link out as much as you can. And that one specifically.
Perfect. Well, does anyone else have any more questions for Bonnie? Not seeing anything, so just want to say thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Bonnie, for being here as well and answering questions. And for anyone that's here, please feel free to look out in your email. We'll send out a recording link and some resources for you, and as well as Bonnie's information, so you can follow up with her for further communications. I just want to say thanks everyone, and have a good rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Bonnie.
You, Bonnie and Thad. Thanks. Night.